Going live. It says we're broadcasting. Hello, good evening. It's not Sunday night. This is odd. This is peculiar. This is strange, new, and different, and I'm scared. But we are doing Doctor Who. Finally, back again doing Doctor Who, and tonight we are doing Bad Wolf and Partner of the Ways. And with me tonight is Chris, as always. Say hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris. Don't get old. Never gets old.
No. But it's been a while since we've done any Doctor Who, anything at all. It's all my fault. The hang-ups and problems have been coming in, and they've been it's just been one problem after another. But we're doing Partner of the Ways as well tonight with Bad Wolf. We're doing the both parts. It's the end of season 1 with Christopher Eccleston, and we're going to get around to talking about that. But I did mention before we started the broadcast, Chris, about a little video that I sent you. And it all, basically, it's a great video. It's a great sort of conversation, really, with the fans and Stephen Moffat. And it's a good video. It's quite good. But one of the things that I've been saying, in particular about Doctor Who, since it's come back in 2005, I've been saying that when it first started, nobody cared about the show. And after it became popular, after the first season, it became the primetime show on Saturday night on BBC One, people started taking interest in the show, and all of a sudden there was people wanting more fingers in the pie. And it's got to the point now whereby we're talking about how Doctor Who is today, and I look, I'm not gonna try to stick up for Chris Chibnall here, right? But when people talk about the responsibilities of being the showrunner for Doctor Who, I think when I saw the video, not only did it confirm what I already knew was going on behind the scenes, but even I did not know it was going on to that level. And what we're talking about here is that during this video, and I won't bring up the video because obviously copyright reasons and things like that, but Chris has seen it as well. There is a moment in this video, maybe I'll post the link in the description after we do this, but there is a moment in the video where one of the fans outright, just point blank to Stephen Moffat, says, you know, when you make a Doctor Who, how much interference is coming from the studio? And I knew, so when we talk about how much interference is coming from the studio, I knew that there would be. I knew that there are executives that are above Stephen Moffat. There's the head of BBC Drama, there's the head of BBC Wales, there's the head of the studio, there's all these different department heads, and they've all got a say in what happens with the show. Now, so when it comes to Chris Chibnall making Doctor Who now today, he is doing it. He signed on to make Doctor Who. He's trying to write the episodes, but he's got studio executives above him. Now, look, I'm not saying he's not blame free, because obviously maybe he's fine with it. Maybe he's really, you know, they're giving him directions and he's okay with that. But it has to be noted just how much the studio is interfering with the show. And I knew they were, but I just didn't know the extent. And I think when we get into it, you realise just how much the studio is interfering with the show. Basically, where Stephen Moffat gives an example talking about what it was like to make Day of the Doctor. And there's a handful of executives that, again, hand him notes on the show. And this happens every episode. This happens, you know, you're bound to get notes from higher-ups. You shouldn't, really, because they have nothing to do with the show. They're there to oversee the studio. They're there to make sure that shows get made. But really, the job of the show runner should be to run the show. That's the person in charge should be the person in charge. The people higher than that should, unless the show is dipping, should just keep the noses out. But when Steve Moffat is asked by this fan about just how much the studios interfere, one of the things he said, and I couldn't believe he said this, was that one of the executives on making Day of the Doctor handed him 50 notes on one episode. Now, that's just one. That's just one executive giving 50 notes on one story. That's incredible. I have no idea how you were supposed to make a TV show when you've got 6, 7 other people above you also giving you notes, and then, like, I knew that they would interfere. Like, I would have said 3 or 4, and I'd be like, clearly that's interference and that's bad. For one to give 50 notes, that is bloody ridiculous. I mean, Chris, I had to send you the video for you to watch it and as well, so you know I'm not making this up. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, I mean, when was it? I can't remember if it was the Thanks. It was a while ago. I watched it. Someone said to to Stephen Moffat, do you mind that?" And he said, "Well, no, of course I don't mind that." Until you look at his eyes. When you look at his eyes and you can see his face is clearly saying, "Yes, I absolutely mind. I wish they would piss off." That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, there was a touch of sarcasm to his statement there, but I mean, like I in a way I'm both happy that I'm vindicated for and validated, I should say, for what I've been saying before, whereby since the show started nobody cared, but then as the show became more popular, more people took interest and more people wanted a piece of the action. And now it's got to the point whereby so many people are interfering with this show. I mean, where do you see, like, given how the show has gone for Series 11, Season 12, where do you see Chris Chibnall's responsibility now? How responsible is he for 11 and 12, given what you know now of just how much they're interfering with the show?
Well, if they've carried on with that from Moffat's tenure, then well, he's only got half a leg to stand on, isn't he? He's like a puppet.
Well, this is exactly it. Because here's the thing, right? I'm not saying he's blame free. I won't say that because he's the showrunner and he works within the confinements he's given. But at the same time, one hand tied behind your back, whilst being beaten down with a truncheon trying to write a show. I don't know how you work in those sort of circumstances. I really don't. So how responsible would you think Chris Chibnall is? Like, I mean, as I said, he could be fine with all the stuff that they're giving him, all the notes, all these little notes about changes, make that. Because again, we knew, like, Chris Chibnall knew before he came onto the show that Piers Wenger already wanted a woman to play the Doctor. That he knew that before he even hired him. So when Chris Chibnall came on, it was agreed upon. But you can imagine now that all the changes down the road, and people don't realise this. Like, Piers Wenger's the guy that insisted that Matt Smith be the Doctor. It was a great choice. I'm not knocking Piers Wenger on that. I think Matt Smith is brilliant as a Doctor. But Stephen Moffat really didn't have that much of a say in it. And when you think about it, if you had a manager to do something, you shouldn't really manage the manager. Do you know what I mean? It's.
Well, no. Yeah.
It's really. I don't know what to make of the situation. I mean, if I had to be honest with you, I think that Chris Chibnall is getting smacked in the face by the fans because he's the face of Doctor Who right now. He's the front man of the company. Would you say he's? What percentage would you say is? Could you say he's responsible for Series 11 and 12?
Well, starting to put a figure on it, isn't it? I mean, you don't know how much is do this or you ain't got a job.
I mean, this is
Well, we like that, we don't like that. So,
I mean, this is the thing, though. I mean, like, we know of stories that he has done in the past, from things like Torchwood and so on, and obviously with what he's done with shows like Broadchurch as well. So we know that he's capable of writing darker stories into the shows. But I'm looking at where, considering I'm looking post sort of, I mean, Day of the Doctor and sort of the end series of Matt Smith and the start of, because I mean, I think the biggest telltale is probably Peter Capaldi's first 2 seasons, really, as a judge. If you look at the start of Matt Smith's first 2 seasons and compare them to Peter Capaldi's first 2 seasons, there's a massive shift in the writing dynamic for the show. So I mean, if I'm, how responsible would I mean, clearly I'm not gonna dwell too much on how responsible Chris Chibnall is, but he can't be held 100% accountable for what's happened over the past 2 years for the show, because clearly he is doing what he's being told to do. I was just shocked at just how much interference they were handed on the show. My opinion is that if the show is doing well, then any executives higher ups in the studio should have nothing to do with the show. They should just be, unless something goes drastically wrong with the show, they should be hands off. Let the people producing the show produce the show.
well, yeah, I mean, once the show starts failing, then you can wade in and have a go. But even though the figures were dropping over the last few seasons before, during Peter Capaldi's run, it still wasn't a failing show. It was just getting less viewers.
Yeah.
It was still up there in the ratings, so it wasn't exactly failing. I don't know. I've not even bothered watching any of the last series again. I just can't be bothered.
No, I haven't seen.
In fact, if you were to ask me where I'll see this show in 5 years, I'd say probably repeats on Dave.
I mean, it's. I mean, I don't know what to say really. I really don't know. I couldn't believe what I was hearing coming out of Stephen Moffat's mouth. Like, I knew studio interference was happening. Studio interference happens on every show. It must do. But the level of studio interference was just incredible. I mean, you imagine, like, if 6 people give you 10 notes, that's 60 notes. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But even then, to have one executive give you 50 notes on one story, how are you supposed to make this? The only thing I can think of is that you write where you want to, ignore them, and see where it gets you. But the problem is that somebody like Chris Chibnall now, he signed up for a 5-year contract. He's got to do what they tell him to do. He is contracted to do that. Like I said, he's one arm tied behind his back, being beaten to the floor. And the problem is now, because he's the face of Doctor Who, he's the front man of the show. He's the one that's going to get it in the neck from both sides, the executives and the fans. I mean, he's not in a good. But I would not want to be in that position.
We also have to remember as well that Stephen Moffat is quite good at sarcasm and joking around. So there is also a chance that his line about 50 notes may have been exaggerated as well. But I don't believe for a minute they're not giving him notes. But I mean that could be exaggerated. We don't know if he's that kind of guy, but
it could be. But let's assume that he's exaggerating by 5 times. He's still getting 10 notes. 10 notes from one executive. And that's just one. There's a handful. There's a half a dozen executives above him also handing him notes. So even if he was exaggerating by 5 times the amount, he's still getting an unbelievable amount.
Yeah, Could you imagine that for a 45-minute show, every executive gives you 50 notes. You're sitting there with 350 notes, like 7 people say. How the
I
flipping heck, I did
yeah,
earlier, do you manage to fit 350 notes into a 45-minute show?
I know. It's obscene. I mean that's potential as well. That's what we're saying is like we're not saying that's what's happening. We're saying but potentially that could be happening. Um, so I just find it. I'm not gonna say Chris Chibnall is blame free for what's happened with Doctor Who, but clearly they all share the blame. Then I think that's a good place to leave that. I think. Um,
Yeah.
and
All
let's
as
go.
bad as each other.
Yeah, I mean clearly, but I mean like the problem is that the people that are potentially handing these stupid ideas in and saying do this, do that, do that, are the ones that are behind the curtain that you don't see, and that's really a problem, because really he's the face of it, so he gets it in the neck.
Should
Anyway,
we coin a phrase on that? Should we call it the Wizard of Oz syndrome?
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yes, pay no attention to the execs behind the curtain. That's it. That is exactly what's going on. So yeah, the big face is the one that's getting all the crap. And but the actual wizards themselves are really getting away with the scot-free. And there's been a lot of things happening with the BBC recently. So which is why I cancelled my TV license. So
I don't play mine, the missus does. She watches the occasional telly, I don't anymore. So
I realised I hadn't watched TV since Timeless Children, and it was just like, what's the point? So it was a case of I've got no RF signal coming into my house. There's no aerial, there's no satellite dish, there's no decoder. There's no TV license, so that's gone. Anyway, on to the good times. Let's talk a little bit about Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways. This is the two-parter that leads to Christopher Eccleston departing the show as the show comes to its season finale. Oh, this is a mixed bag, isn't it? Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways.
Yeah. For me, it is a mixed bag because I can't stand Big Brother. I can't stand What Not to Wear, and I weren't over keen on The Weakest Link either. So it's firing on three fronts for me of 3 things that I think are rubbish, and it really dates the program as well. I feel
this is it for me. This program was out of date in 2005. I mean, again, you should be making a program for air date. You shouldn't be making a program for how it's going to be seen in 20 years' time. You should be making a program for how it's going to be seen on Saturday night. That's how it should be, and that's what this was. Back then, The Weakest Link was a kind of a peak show, I think. Even then, by then it had been on the air for 6-7 years, I think. Anne Robinson was kind of at the top of her fame. She was doing the show in the UK, doing the show in America. Yeah, and then we had some weird stuff with Trini and Susanna and I mean, I think we were seeing a lot of Russell T Davies' TV choices. So I think we kind of know what he was kind of watching. I mean, I think I don't think Skins was out by then, so I think we were lucky there. Because God knows what would have ended up in Doctor Who then. But it was still a good show, but there we are. We've got some interesting characters in Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways. One of the characters is Linda with a Y.
Yep.
Again, this is a great character created by Russell T Davies that really I think she was created to be an analogue for Rose. I think she was brought in to be like this is almost Rose. This character here is really likable. She's really enthusiastic. She's young. They even dressed her similar to Rose. They give her similar sort of clothes to wear. They give her and there was instant chemistry between her and the Doctor. Like it was just instant. It was just smack on. You know, the two of them had this little flirt bit going on between the two of them, and I think the point of the character was the fact that anyone in this situation, anyone could die, and it could be Rose. And I think that was the point of the character, really, was to be sort of again just to be a mirror, for Rose and say this could happen to anyone. Nothing is going to save these people. You know, charm, love, all that sort of stuff. People were just dropping dead because the Daleks were back, and I think it was a good choice to bring this character in as well. Did anything in particular stand out to you about this character more than sort of? Because she was only in it for it was just the one episode, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, I did wonder if she was going, because obviously they did really well to keep the whole Christopher Eccleston thing hush hush. Yeah, I thought she was going to become part of the TARDIS team. I really did, because of how secretive they kept the end of Parting of the Ways.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you now, I didn't know what comes at the end of that. I didn't know that was coming, because I didn't used to go on to websites and stuff like that about it. So I thought, she could be a good member of the TARDIS team, and I'm thinking back to sort of like, you know, Nissa, Tegan, you know, when there was a glut of them. Yeah, it was quite shocking, really. It was just like, yeah, ta-da. Spoilers.
But it was done really well, though, wasn't it? Like she was doing everything that Rose would have done.
Oh yeah.
And yet it was just fit. It was just like, you know, you have to do this. I mean, I think part of it was that the Doctor was trying to keep Rose out of it. So he was using these other people that were analogues, and this woman was an analogue for Rose. If she hadn't been there, Rose would now be dead. Do you know what I mean? But because she was there, he managed to insert her instead. And it was, I don't know, I'm not going to say that the Doctor was picking and choosing, but clearly there was an emotion, he had an emotional reaction to putting Rose in harm's way instead. And so he took the Rose out of the equation, which we later see it when he sends her home in Parting of the Ways. But such a memorable character as well. She I think, you know, she's in it for 2 episodes, isn't it? Bad Wolf and then Parting of the Ways. She dies in Parting of the Ways, right? If I remember rightly. But there's also other characters in this episode.
I honestly can't remember which one she's in or not.
Well, she's kind of in the Big Brother house in this one, isn't she? In Bad Wolf, she's in the Big Brother house, and in Parting of the Ways, she dies on the station. Or does she? No, she dies in this one. They raid the station in this one. But anyway,
it's been so long since I've seen it, I can't remember.
But it's one story anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But there's a couple of things that I want to bring up as well. If I can remember how to screen share. It's been that long. So let me go here. Screen share. Share screen. Application. There we go. There we go. Patterson Joseph is in this episode.
Yeah, he plays a bit of an annoying character, doesn't he, really?
It's weird. I think he could be a really good villain. And I think he could also be like, because he was in Casualty for nearly a year, I think. He was in, more than that. He was in 42 episodes of Casualty. I always see him as being some sort of bureaucratic figure, a banker or a lawyer or something like that. But the fact that he plays this individual that is just, again, showing kind of the date of the show. He's kind of a yuppie.
Yeah.
In this story, he's kind of this up and coming, tread on everyone, kind of personality. He's kind of, his character's kind of repeated in Voyage of the Damned with the other guy who's out for his out for himself. He's sort of this sort of character. Patterson Joseph, great actor though, fantastic actor.
I'll tell you what, in this episode, he pulls off. There's a certain sort of person I'm not fond of in real life, and that's the It's Not Fair Brigade.
Yeah.
And he plays that absolutely spot on in this episode. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he is really good. But there's another person in here which I'm gonna try to see if I can. No. Let me just. I don't know. I have no.
What are you trying to do? If you're trying to flick from side to side, you have to hover over the side. I'm trying to show where it'll be on my screen. There, and a little arrow comes up.
No, I'm gonna. So look at this.
Just make a new one.
Yeah, application window. And the other person I want to bring up is Nisha Nair. Nisha Nair is probably most famous, I guess, for playing a character in a show called Tracy Beaker.
Yep.
She was in there for a while. But here's the interesting thing: Nisha Nair's first acting role was in a little show called Doctor Who in 1987.
Was it really?
She was one of the Red Kangs in Paradise Towers. Huh?
That's one for your CV.
Yeah, that was her first acting. She was in all 4 episodes of Paradise Towers playing a Red Kang. And she, I mean, that must have been great for her because, I mean, that was quite a pretty starred episode for Doctor Who as well. You know, I mean, people forget how popular people were back in the 80s, but you had Sylvester McCoy, who was fairly popular. He had just come off of, you know, he done Magpie, he done Tiswas, he was now Doctor Who. So he was quite popular. He was, you know, he was certainly making front pages on magazines and things. You had Bonnie Langford, who was a big star in the 80s from a child star point of view. She was always on Saturday morning TV as well, and I mean just a big, and for her to be in Doctor Who was kind of a big deal. Paradise Towers then also had Richard Bryars as one of the. Oh my God!
I mean, he was a massive television star from the mid-60s until he died, basically.
Just a massive star. But never mind TV star. I mean, whatever you put him in, he was a massive star. How the hell they got him to do Doctor Who, I don't know. But I mean, that was incredible. And then we've got Nisha Nair here, who was one of the Red Kangs, and I think she was about, if I'm right, she was about 15, 16 doing the show. So she was very young doing her first job, and that was her first gig. And then it comes full circle, and she comes back to doing the first season back of Doctor Who. So she was, again, her character in this as well. She plays a very, I don't know. She's kind of a Jobsworth, but she's a Jobsworth with a bit of a heart. So she's all about, you know, doing things right and doing her job properly and making sure all the procedure, everything follows procedure. But then she's also, you know, she's got a warmer side to her as well. Again, a great character actor, and a memorable little, particularly between her and I can't remember the guy's name. When they're at the barricade, and he asks out on a date if they survive, and it's a lovely little these moments don't get put back into Doctor Who ever again. We don't really see those sorts of moments of these people are fighting a losing battle and they still, you know. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers quite a bit, in fact. So let's stop there. There we go. And I think we should start watching the episode. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, because of my lack of decent internet, I've got no tablets, I've got no setup, I've got my phone pinned up by the window so I get a decent signal, and I've got my laptop and my camera, and I've got my other computer in the background disconnected to play the episode. I'm on bare bones here, mate.
This is look. I fully understand. I have everything shackled together myself. So here we go with Bad Wolf. And I'm going to press play in 3, 2, 1, bonsai! There we go. And we've got BBC logo coming up, a television programme. It is. It is a television programme. Let me just check the sound here. There it is. Station 1, there's a flashback. Of course, yeah, we get these sets again, and these sets were... I don't think these sets were ever taken down, I think they were just moved.
Well, a lot of the series did end up revolving around this, so I would imagine they did leave most of it up.
Yeah. Again, they made fantastic use of the space that they had, you know.
Yeah.
And again, you've seen from that shot there, them walking through the corridor, whereby they put a digital mat over the ceiling to make it look like a different location. You know, all these little tricks that they put into the show, money-saving techniques, which is why, again, it really bums me out the way they make Doctor Who these days, is because they seem to spend money like water, and they didn't have to. You know, it just looks perfectly viable. Here we go. It's weird though, they never actually shot in any sort of Big Brother house. This was kind of just all set, you know. I think it's kind of indicative, I think, of future programming as well, whereby it's a smaller set. It looks smaller.
Yeah.
But again, it's the way something would go. If you become standardised, you scale it down. There she is, Linda with a Y. And again, these characters are brilliant. There's 3 of them, and you can instantly know what sort of characters they are.
Yeah.
You instantly know. Davina McCall. See, again, that's a weird choice as well, because Americans wouldn't get that that's Davina McCall. It's great that they got it, but... And again, this goes back to making it for the day. Yes, you've got to be kidding.
That's what I thought when I watched the programme. I agreed with him wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I was there like going, crap. What sort of fresh hell is this?
I mean, when you discuss them sort of programmes, the first time that was on, it was novel. The second time it was on, it's like, oh, they're doing it again. And after that, it was, I'll just take it away.
Yeah, it's... Again, it's kind of... oh, hey, Ian's here, by the way. Hello, Ian. Yes. Glad to see you both well. We are doing well, yes.
Hope you're well too, mate.
Yeah, he is. The android, oh god. I mean, a terrible play on a terrible pun. It's just... Here's what I find weird about this. But BBC make the weakest link, and yet they couldn't get the weakest link set.
Well, this is the future set, isn't it? It'll be different.
No, but I mean, they make the show. It's supposed to be the show.
Yeah.
The BBC make the show. It's their
Carwin,
show.
Carwin, the word begins with SH, but it's not show, alright?
Oh dear. It just. This is what I mean. Everything's scaled down for it. You know, the Big Brother house isn't that big. The weakest link is like a third of the size. And everything's done that way, like it's done whereby it's not quite big enough to be impressive. But this doesn't make any sense because it's the show.
Yeah, well, you make a fair point, but I can't believe I'm watching this again. Oh dear.
I mean,
In all fairness, though, and I don't care how slammed I get for this on the internet, at least these droids are better looking than Trini and Susanna. Well, they used to get on my nerves. They used to go on about what not to wear, and a pair of them looked like they were dressed in tablecloths.
It's not only that though, because in a moment, Captain Jack is about to sexually harass a fucking android. And I swore that. I tried to edit myself then. But he's about to sexually assault an android. I mean, what is that about? Catherine Price went nuts with the story synopsis come out. Everybody hated the Big Brother weakest link elements before it aired. I mean, it's... Again, so if you look at the set that he's in right now, that set was the mine set. That she was sitting in the chair with the spike. It's the same set. I'm not sure what set that was, if it was specially built or not for Big Brother house. Again, just loud colours. But what? She was such a likeable character in this.
Yeah, she was.
And they picked the right actor to play her as well. Oh, she went into EastEnders after this, didn't she?
I would not know. I'll take your word for it.
I will look it up.
I'd love to. I've got nothing to look it up on. It's in a hammock made out of the net curtains.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Yeah, Linda. Joe Joyner. Wow, okay. She was in EastEnders. Wow, she was in EastEnders for a lot. 679 episodes.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Holy crap, she's not in it now.
Oh, so the last time I tuned into EastEnders was to see what happened when Dirty Dan came back. And since then, he's been chucked out for some sort of sexual thing and subsequently died. So, I mean, that's how long ago it was I last looked at EastEnders.
Yeah. She's now doing something called Shakespeare and Hathaway Private Investigators.
Well, at least that sounds interesting.
Yeah, apparently he's done 40 episodes. I've never heard of it. Yeah, that's a good threat. I've never heard about any of this.
Now that guy leaning over, I can't remember what her name was now. That guy leaning over her, how perfect, bearing in mind this was 15 years ago, how perfect would that part have been for Chris Barry?
Oh yeah.
Chris Barry.
Yeah. He's got a slightly vacant look as well. He's got this sort of like, let's have a look here. Who else is in here? There's no real other names here. Obviously Noel Clark's here, Anne Robinson, Lucas Briggs. Jenna Russell was the floor manager. No, there's no other. None of these people apparently have got credits. Aside from obviously, aside from Patterson Joseph there and Nisha Nair. None of these actors have got credits.
I don't recognise any of them either. They look familiar, but I wouldn't know them by name.
Oh, they've definitely all been in stuff. Because I know, like I remember her playing a mother. I mean, what do you think of the design of these androids?
They're a bit old-fashioned looking, aren't they?
But I mean, like if somebody's gonna say android, I mean, I don't know. Roderick is famous, Peep Show and other stuff. Yeah. But Patterson Joseph was also done Peep Show, didn't he? He was he done quite a few stuff with Mitchell and Webb. It's weird how he never had a bigger career though, because it's like his career, because he started off really well. He kind of plateaued, but he's never been off TV. Like, there he is, sexual assault of an android. See, I'm not sure if all these androids seem to have these sort of skirt flares around them. So I'm not trying. I don't know whether or not they're trying to imply Dalek.
Yeah, it's possible. And they have got quite domed heads as well.
Yeah. So I'm wondering whether or not that was part of the. I mean, they're definitely sort of memorable, but I'm not sure if they're memorable for the right reasons. I don't know. It's kind of I'm kind of a. I mean, if you were to see that at an event or something, you'd instantly recognise it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Patterson Joseph was up for the Doctor role, I think. It's possible, but again, it's weird that he hasn't become more famous. He's a constant actor. But he was in that show with Christopher Eccleston a few years ago. I can't remember what it was called. It was on TV.
I can only name two other shows Chris Eccleston was in. That's Heroes and Our Friends in the North, I think.
No, he was in another one. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, good grief! It was an ITV show, but he was in it with him. Oh, you'd have seen the picture of him because he was always wearing a wetsuit. I mean, a lot of work went into making these designs.
Yeah, I'm not knocking the work. It's just the choice of program. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm sitting here slating it off on that was the choice of programs, and yeah, like you say, the sets have been sort of like reduced in size, but the work that's been put in to make them look like that, I think it's probably better they did that than use the actual Weakest Link set because it kind of brings it into the size more.
That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's weird because I can't work out whether or not it's better to be that way, or whether or not it's because obviously it's a stylistic choice. But I mean, again, we get these sort of characters here in this Big Brother set, and again, it's part of the Russell T Davies writing era here, where these three characters they're only on screen for a very short period of time, and yet so distinctive. You know who these people are. I mean, just that in itself. See, that's part of the brain set, the spike set as well, that's been made into a corridor.
It's only a game show. She'll make a fortune on the outside, tell a story, release a record, fitness video, all that. She'll be laughing.
It's kind of good that he's actually putting the knife in. But it's kind of shocking. But it's kind of shocking that they assume that Doctor Who watches bloody Big Brother. That he's just come out of the Time War and that's what he's doing. See, no, you've got his attention.
Yeah. See, now the episode wraps up and you realise all the bits you thought was silly, what they've been leading up to.
Yeah. But again, it's yeah, no, he's got his attention. But I think that's the only fault in the writing. I think is that the Doctor should be oblivious to Big Brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have played out just the same. I think you didn't have to have him add that dialogue. In fact, having him a bit more bemused about what's going on would probably have been a little bit more funny. Lovely little character pieces. Again, this is a redress of the editor's set from. Oh God, I'm trying to the editor now. No, it's gone. You know the one I'm on about.
Yeah, I know the one you're on about.
The one with the Jaguar Fest.
Yeah, the long game.
The long game. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You get to live like, yeah. I do like those cameras, mind. I will say that. I do like those steel cameras with the windscreen wiper. The face of that android always just, to me, looks more like a dog. So it's, no, maybe some weird design with the shape of the head and the eyes.
Yeah.
Hold on, ladies, I don't want to have to shoot either one. But you're unarmed, you make it. But that's a compact laser deluxe. Were you hiding that? You really don't want to know.
Such a good character, Captain Jack.
Oh. I love the look on his face. You know, he's not happy about it, but it's all about him. There we are. That little smirk there. What? He's just somebody he's punchable in this, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing is, he does it so well. He acts it so well.
Yeah.
I bet in real life he's one of the nicest blokes you can ever meet. He's a proper, come have a cup of tea, mate, type of fellas.
Yeah. No, exactly. And he's just so good at delivering it. Again, it amazes me that he's not a bigger actor. Here's a question for you. Did you realise what this episode was about when you found out the title of the episode?
Well, I had noticed when me and my boys were watching it, we noticed that there was a bad wolf had been mentioned a couple of times, but no, I had no idea what was going to happen when I was watching it.
Yeah, it was an interesting seeing it as being the title of the episode as well.
Yeah, it was like, well, this might explain a few things, but obviously I didn't know.
Yeah. What do you think of the setup here, though? Because this is, to me, even though I'm not particularly fond of the sort of the first half of this episode, when we go into Satellite 5, what do you think of the story setup then? That something is already going on, because this is sort of kind of a very classic Doctor Who approach, whereby there's already a situation and the Doctor lands in the middle of it. As opposed to what tends to happen now is that the Doctor will show up and then something will happen. So what do you think of this? The cold open for this, whereby he wakes up and he's just he's trying to figure things out as he's going along. Is that a more appealing style of storytelling for you?
But it does make a nice difference that he's already in the thick of it, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, that was Peter Capaldi. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, it does make a difference. Now, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy this. And I can see why they use contemporary television to bring people in. I think I would have enjoyed it more if they'd done the same setup, but with completely made up situations to put Jack Rose and the Doctor in, rather than using Big Brother, The Weakest Link, and What Not to Wear, or whatever it's called. But yeah, the actual setup's great because you don't really know what's going on. It's a very WTF episode, isn't it, to start with? It's like, what?
And I think because it is the Weakest Link and Big Brother, it becomes a bit tongue-in-cheek as well.
Yeah.
And I think that it could have been a little bit different. If they'd been made-up shows, if they'd just been something that we'd never heard of and we didn't realise what the rules were or things like that, it could have been a little bit more Jumanji type. Again, it bugs me that the Doctor knows Big Brother. It's a small niggle, I know. But again, it's a great use of the sets for what they've previously used. Again, those are pieces of the mindset from the long game and the hand scanners and things like that. And this dynamic between Linda and the Doctor is brilliant. Like, I don't care what anybody says, she fancies the Doctor right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Something else that doesn't need to be in Doctor Who, but we've talked about that before.
Yeah. No, but she's definitely she's attracted to him. I mean, there's no, you don't have to say it. It's implied. And that's something that is sorely missing.
Although I will say in defence of that, I always read that more as she was attracted to his intelligence rather than physical attraction.
But yeah, that's what I mean. No, she's attracted to him, but not for sexual reasons. She's just attracted to him for being. This guy's just been impressed. This guy's just James Bonded his way out of the house.
Yeah. I forgot all about this thing. I totally forgot all about this part of it. I think If you'd have said to me, what do you remember about these 2 episodes, I would have said Trini, Susanna, and Dalek.
Yeah.
I forgot all about this.
It's a little bit of all. It's very graphic art.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite Giger-esque, but it's almost
Anime.
I mean,
Very anime.
Yeah. I was gonna say Matrixy, but
Archive 6 is out of bounds. But I need to check the transport log. Archive 6 is out of bounds. No one may enter Archive 6.
and again they're using lighting very well in this. Everything
Yeah.
everything's dark, everything's black. Everything's being punched out by these breaks in light all around the set, and then she's been illuminated by these
Seeing as I
really
haven't got
harsh
the
spots.
information to hand, who directed this one?
Joe Ahern? I will check.
Alright, so I wondered if this was Euros Link again.
Partner of the Ways. Doctor Who Partner of the Ways. So, yeah. It was directed by Joe Ahern. It does both episodes, I think.
Well, good shout.
I've never seen it for real before.
Yeah.
Something like that ever since I was born. See that there? It's a great electric smoke store.
Again, nice. It could probably use a little bit of a remastering now these days because there's a little bit of anti-aliasing and things going on.
All beaming down from here.
The human race, brainless sheep, being fed on a diet. Mind you, I've still got that problem with thinking hospital every day.
Oh, bear with me, I love that one.
See, they're good at making up little shows like this until it comes to... Yeah, so Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways was his last two. He done Dalek, Father's Day, Boomtown, Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways, and that was it for Doctor Who. He hasn't directed any more since.
News channels, they just shut down overnight.
Which is weird, because you, when you find reliable directors, you don't tend to... You tend to keep reusing them.
Yeah.
And clearly he's competent, because...
I made this one.
This is what I liked about this episode. The fact that we revisit 100 years later and it's all gone wrong. He thinks he's fixed it and he's made a mess of it.
That's the end of tactical writing. You're on your own now.
Hey, handsome. Good to see you.
Yeah, I like the fact that she's only survived because he's been a prick. Wonderful uses of black paintings and digital mats in this as well, by the way. Just set expansions and little things just to help you out with the geography of the station.
Hello.
Captain Harkness.
Linda Moss.
Nice to meet you, Linda Moss. Mind floating outside? I was just saying hello. To you, that's Stupid system doesn't make sense. This place should be a basic broadcast.
Again, all the stuff that's in here, this is what, again, bugs me when it comes to making Doctor Who these days, is because these are all repeat sets. All of these are sets that they had previously constructed that were still standing in the studios. Most of these sets you can't even see. Most of this is all done through just clever lighting.
Yeah. And they didn't all bounce off to Tunisia for an episode either. Well,
Yeah, exactly. But this is all done through lighting. Every single thing. When they want to make something look dangerous, there's more reds. When they want to make it look more like the light behind her is much dimmer than the lights behind the android, because they're keeping her brightly lit, so she's more isolated. It's really clever choices. See how isolated that shot is there? It's pushed right in, there's nothing behind her. She is the absolute focus.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's just clever of doing something. You don't need to know what's there. You don't need to know it. And look at it. It just puts the focus so much on it. It's intense.
No, it's true.
It's very, very clever. Again, digital mat extension there to show, you know, most of that is missing. There's just nothing there. Just clever people being clever. And by the way, this is budget saving as well, because of what comes in the next episode.
Correct answer is permanent.
The look on his face. You've lost.
Yeah.
And again, so now you notice that she's the lights are doing this, and she's all panicking. So the lights in the background is flailing about. And you know it's particularly for that shot, because in the biggest lake it doesn't do that. In the biggest lake, the lights go dun 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 dun, dun and stop.
Yeah.
But because she's panicking, the lights are flailing about. It's really, honestly, it's very so theatrical. Everything's moving. All the stuff is moving.
It's really upset the Doctor now.
Yeah. It's a brilliant look on his face.
That's in Liam Neeson territory, that is.
You tell us the purpose of this device. Can you tell us how you got on board? Ask him. Sir, can you tell us who you are?
I kind of like this as well. The little graphic behind as well.
You will be taken from this place to the lunar penal colony, there to be held without trial. You may not be
And again, it's been unsophisticated with things that you know, a detention area on a station doesn't need to be anything fancy, you know, and they've just got this wire fence.
No, I mean, these sets could almost be from Genesis of the Daleks, you know, the bit where Sarah's climbing up the tower.
Yeah. Panic! Yeah, like on the elevator there, the ceiling of the elevator was one of the backlit walls from I think it was the market set. Captain Jack would have been really good in his own show.
This satellite's more than a game station. Who killed Bronx Tyler?
All staff reminded that Silver Flash covering Delta Point 1.
She can't reply. Don't shoot. Oh, don't be so thick. I know I'm going to shoot. Captain, we've got more guards on the way.
I love this guy's reaction as well.
What do you say? I put your gun. Okay, so shoot me. Why can't she answer? She's,
Put it down.
Sorry. The controller is linked to the transmission.
Like, not one of them got any sort of spine or anything. They've all just been beaten into submission so badly. So almost allegorical of management positions.
Yeah.
See, she's a job's worth, but she's got a heart. She's still like he's got two guns, so you can't go in there. This is restricted. Great characters though. All of them. Every one of them. Such a handsome face there.
Very bowish.
Open the door and let us out. Stop terrifying.
That's the same staff who execute hundreds of contestants every day. We just do like that. I mean, that's sensible. She just wants the right to be consulted.
Yeah, so the last time she was in Doctor Who, she actually had Sylvester McCoy in his ass. So she's not doing bad. She doesn't look as how can I put it, pop as she did in Paradise Towers. She had bright red clothes and bright red wig.
All I can see is looms.
What do you want?
Solar flares hiding me. They can't.
Brilliant lighting as well. Up lighting now. Just bomb it with blue light because it was white light earlier as well. So they've now changed the tone of the light. This is a very blue coloured episode, by the way.
This series has been great for lighting.
Oh, absolutely amazing. It's all done in lighting. That's what's amazing about it. You can't really see any of the sets other than the ones that they want to show you. This could be done on a stage. This could be done in a theatre on a stage. No problem at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, who are they? When's the next solar flare?
2 years' time.
That might go that is.
Found the TARDIS.
We're not leaving now.
No, but the TARDIS worked it out. You'll want to watch this. Linda, could you stand over there for me, please?
I just want to go on.
It'll only take a second. Just stand in that spot quick as you can. Everybody watching? Okay.
And again, Linda would have been a great companion.
One.
But you killed him.
What do you think? It's a transmat wheel, not a disintegrator. A secondary transmat system. People don't get killed in the games. They get transported across space. Dr. Rose is still alive.
And now you got to find her. When I heard that noise, not that even saw the set. When I heard the noise,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. But I was goosebumps.
See, I just thought Space Invaders. I'm joking, by the way.
Yeah. Again, you can't really see a lot there, but if you to really examine it, all you really see in there is a lot of plumbing. A lot of plumbing and gaffer tape.
That reflection is brilliant.
It's a when you see it, because again it's a slow. And the thing is, they've already been in the show once, this season. So the fact that they do a slow reveal, it's weird that they do a slow reveal, but it's great that they do it
Yeah.
because you don't know what's coming, you don't know what's next.
Started the Jack Professor 100 years ago. Someone's been playing a long game, controlling the human race behind the scenes for generations.
And all these hazard lights going in the because obviously there's something dangerous happening, so they've got the hazard lights going as well. Brilliant stuff.
Right on the edge of the solar system.
It looks like
And this also makes the title of the episode, The Long Game, make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Again, this is going back to saying, look, things have happened 100 years before. The Doctor's created this world. This has all gone wrong. Because he abandoned it for 100 years. Things went out of control, but the slow reveal of the Daleks as well for here, and then you see, oh look, there's a Dalek ship, and like that's bad, and it's like, ah crap, ah crap, oh crap, ah crap, oh crap, oh crap, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Like the slow reveal works for this,
Mm.
for that
Yeah.
moment right there.
200 ships. More than 2,000 on board each one. That's just about 500,000 of them. 500,000 what? Daleks.
But again, such, oh. When you think, like, when you think of how kooky and how this episode opened, to the dynamic shift in how serious the story goes towards the end, it's brilliant.
Oh, William, that's nice. Hello.
The end of a story can make up for any weaknesses at the start.
Yeah.
No.
One of the best line deliveries. What? Does this mean no?
I said no. It means no. No! Because this is for mine. I'm going to rescue him. I'm going to save Rose Tyler from the middle of the Dalek fleet. And then I'm going to save the Earth. And then, just to finish off, I'm going to wipe every last stinking Dalek out of the sky. Yeah. And doesn't that scare you to death? Rose?
He just verbally bitch slapped the Daleks. I mean, brilliantly. Like, they've got him outmanned. 500,000 to 1. And they're scared. That's when you realise that just... I think that's the first time as well that you've ever seen that many Daleks on screen.
Right,
So
well,
this
I've
is-
got for the next time part.
Yeah, and I have, yeah. Let me just stop that there. So, yeah. So, aside from your, and mine, oh, what have I done? I've just exited the show. Didn't mean to do that. So aside from your previous hang-ups with the production story-wise with the game shows, how do you think it's held up since?
Well, in terms of the game shows, I mean, they're still, even though they're not really on anymore, they're still the weakest link, and Big Brother are particularly memorable programs for how big they got. The What Not to Wear wasn't really. I don't think that was on
Yeah.
globally, and you know, I only know that program because I watched one because Jeremy Clarkson was on it. That's literally why I watched that episode. Now I know what it is.
I mean, Trini and Susanna were big back then. They were. I mean, not just on that show, but they would show up on This Morning TV, and they would show up on all sorts of TV shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking of it from a wider perspective.
Yeah,
I like the way they set it up.
Mhm.
I just wish they'd come up with different programs to do it rather than contemporary programs. I know why they did it.
They did
Because
show
it
them.
kind of looped the program into the type of audience the show's trying to bring in.
Yeah.
But if I ignore the fact that their shows I don't really like, the way they done it and the way they pulled it together was very cleverly done. I won't deny that. That was a very clever way of doing it. And even though you didn't think they'd vaporised Rose, it was quite convincing when the doctor went down and he's just doing that with, you know, everybody's dead doctor. You know what I mean? Very reminiscent of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very good setup, and like you say, using different analogues for the different characters, particularly Linda with a Y, and how smug what's his name is. Yeah, it's better than I remember because at the time all the shows were on. And I was like, oh, what really?
Yeah.
But now looking back, it's more. I don't know. It's 15 years, man. It's almost a historical piece.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, here's the good news: is that the episode's only going to get better because those shows aren't on anymore, and therefore they're going to become more distant from the show. So the fact that they aren't made up shows now doesn't matter because those shows don't exist. To anyone who's watching the show new, they won't really know what the weakest link is. They won't know what not to wear is. So they will have that. The newer fans come into it, even sort of foreign fans, people South Africa, whatever. They're not gonna know what not to wear is. So they will have exactly what we suggesting is to have a show that is completely the unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So and that's the good news is that as time goes on, the more distant we get away from those shows, the better it's going to be, I suppose. It does date the show for now, but we can get past that. As a story, again, I love the setup. I love the cold open of the TARDIS. We don't even know what's happened to the TARDIS until towards the end of the episode, and I love the fact that he's just dropped in the middle of something. Something is going on, and then he's like, "Well, I'm not taking this seriously because this is just ridiculous." And then somebody dies, and then it's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I do like the setup of it. Again, I said it throughout the episode. Brilliant lighting. Just the way that the way that it's all used. It's mainly blue lighting throughout the episode, and then when things hit panic stations, you've got the red hazard lights going off in the background. When things start going out of control, the lights start moving about. When it pushes in for intensity, and then when things hit panic stations, all the spotlights are moving around. It's just done very, very well as a theatrical piece. Never mind a TV episode. If you were to watch it as a silent episode without any sound, you'd still probably be able to get you wouldn't understand exactly what was going on, but you'd understand the intensity. You'd understand why people are panicking. You'd understand why things were frantic, because it's just purely visually there for you. Even smaller things, like for example, when they're in the control station, there's a lot of TV monitor uplighting on all the people sitting by the desks. So it's very reminiscent of a sort of a TV filming gallery.
Yeah.
The old style TV filming galleries. That's exactly what it's indicative of, and they use lighting absolutely brilliant in there. And given that a lot of it is reused sets as well, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I think the other big thing of this is the fact that this episode was just brilliantly cast.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't fault the casting on it at all.
Just you knew who every single, even again the right at the start of the episode with the Big Brother characters, you had the gay housemate and the black woman. I can't remember a character's name. One who gets zapped. She's slightly bitchy. Linda's sweet. And again they say in the episode he's the gay. She's but they use it like these days. They would have pointed that out to you. These days in Doctor Who, they would have gone, that's who he is. But there was no need to do that back then. They didn't have to do it. He was there as.
There's no need to do it now. Let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying. There's no need to do it now. But this is a good example of they don't need to do it now. But that's what these characters were. But they were so distinct, and this is what Russell T Davies done brilliantly well throughout every episode. Is to introduce characters that you will remember. You will remember each and every one of these characters, whether you like it or whether you don't. And you'll definitely remember Patterson Joseph's character just from that. You've lost. Like, just oh, come on. Just, I mean, even if you don't like the first half of this episode, such a strong finish.
Yeah, it's not so much that I don't like the start of the episode. It's just the content. But looking at it now, although you saying in years to come, no one will know what it is. Yes, they will, because I could play you an episode of Z Card, and you'll say, "Oh, that's Z Card." There'll always be people like us.
That's true. Yeah, there'll always be somebody pointing it out. But no, such a strong finish to the episode as well. A
Yeah,
strong.
definitely.
And normally, like with two-parters, normally the first episode is stronger than the second episode because it's kind of you never know how it's going to play out. But for the next episode, we already knew Christopher Eccleston was leaving.
I didn't.
No, but I mean it was already out and about. It was already
Yeah.
it wasn't brand new news at this time. We knew that we were going to get a new Doctor at the end of the next episode. It was a case of, I mean, in terms of how they wrote this next episode, Part in Other Ways, I'm going to say it's probably one of the strongest two-parters.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, a lot of people complained. I don't know if you want to talk about this after the episode with the whole time stream thing, but I think that worked well. I'll talk about that afterwards. You know, the kiss and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, all right. I mean, yeah. Look, there's always going to be niggles, but story-wise, this is a story where the Daleks win.
Yeah.
I mean, the Daleks. This isn't the Daleks are in control here. The Daleks have conquered. They've flat out got control. You know, the only way for the Doctor to win here is for the Doctor to die. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, Rose is the anomaly that comes in here. That's with her being the bad wolf. That's the anomaly that really. I think that's one of the anomalies that makes Rose such a good companion. Again, it's why Linda has to die. Unfortunately, we'll get around to that when that happens. But let's get on. I think we'll get on with Part in Other Ways now. So I'm getting ready to press play on Part in Other Ways.
I've got a big Android on my screen waiting to go.
Right then, 3, 2, 1. And it's loading, it's buffering. It's BBC, a BBC television programme, and Android. Another weakest link, Zap. This isn't just a game. I love the distortion of that as well. When he says that, when he does the whole "I'm coming to get you" and all that, he's looking in the mirror, and the mirror's not quite a pure reflection, so it's quite bendy.
Yeah.
Brilliant start. Brilliant. What the hell is gonna happen? Like, what an open. It's all in the recap. It's awesome. Straight away.
They should never have had a next time on the end of the last episode either.
No, they shouldn't have. I don't like that anyway. I mean,
I don't mind it if there's not a cliffhanger. That's fine. I like a teaser. But if it's a cliffhanger, show nothing. But they have learned with that now, don't they? It's kind of
yeah. I don't like having a next time on the end of Doctor Who episodes anyway. So but that's just me. Dalek space.
For the first time in so many years, how good did them ships look?
Oh, and I love the fact they fly in saucers as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. They wish. Brilliant shot of the TARDIS as well. I love that. It's like, what the hell? Review shot from Day of the Doctor. This was brilliant as well. The first time we'd ever sort of really seen the TARDIS do this sort of trick. And again, this actual trick of having the TARDIS materialise around them actually plays dividends later on for the episode The Doctor's Wife. Because they always say that whenever something happens, you always end up back in the control room. That's where the TARDIS will always deposit you, is in the control room.
Do we need to talk about guns being fired in the TARDIS?
Well, we've
We're letting them off this one.
No, because I think we've already covered the whole what do they call it? Solstice. What's it called? Solitude Field or something like that. It's called, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Ah, what is it? Yeah, because Matt Smith covers it later on, where he's just like, it was a clever lie. You shot my console. Good. It has happened before with Cybermen firing guns at the TARDIS, by the way, because Peter Davison killed Cyberman in Earthshock inside the TARDIS, so it's not like it's beyond precedent. It's in a state of temporal grace, that's what it was called. We're about to see one of my favourite models ever. I think it's one of the best models. Why they haven't made more Daleks like this, I don't know. Because it is beautiful. And you can buy one and they're about 150 quid and I'm not paying for it. It's lucky to get a nickname like that, because some people get a nickname like Butter Ass or something.
So tell me, how did you survive the time?
Here we go. Nice big slow reveal. Love it.
That one, isn't it?
It's so nice.
This is the
I mean, it only ever existed as a model. It was the model itself was 4 foot by 2 foot, I think. 4 foot around, 2 foot tall. It's just gorgeous.
That's brilliant, that bit.
Yeah. No, there's no fear there at all. It's just anger, just venom, just spat at the Daleks. What do you think of the design of the Emperor? Because given that the last time we saw really sort of Emperor Dalek was kind of the well, you see the one with a dodgy light on top, or go back to like Dalek Master Plan probably, where it's that big sort of hexagonal shaped thing. I mean that as an Emperor Dalek. What do you think of that design?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. You can tell straight away it's a Dalek. And yet,
Oh yeah.
then struts coming off of it, holding it up. It's just all round, like you say, it's a fantastic model.
It's nice to have a variation of the
I
Dalek
even
as
like
well.
the fact that the Dalek inside is a practical model and not CGI.
Yeah. I mean, he's known the Daleks his entire life. Since his first regeneration. Now he's come to the conclusion they're insane. It's a little bit of an oversight there, Doctor. Oh. Yeah, I just love that design. Come back. This should have that come back. So again, they've introduced a colour division as well now. So Satellite 5 is very blue, and the Dalek chip is very amber. So yeah. So the real Emperor model of the Doctor experienced in Brighton Pier in 2005. Yeah, and it's just a beautiful model. It's just an absolute all made of plywood. Actually, it's made of gelatin. It's not sort of not ply. Those little panels on the side of it, just done brilliantly. I love the fact that all the balls are rotated as well on the ship.
Yeah. They certainly put some money into this one.
It's a wave of deltas. Okay, simple things. They're using like plasma balls behind some of the set panels, so they got that sort of lightning crackle effect going on.
Yeah. They always look good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've been using plasma balls in Doctor Who for God knows how long. I mean, it was one of the main features of Remembrance of the Daleks. I do like the sort of the retro styling to the designs for the ships and space stations as well. I do wonder where like where the show would have gone if Eccleston had not been in such a disagreement with Russell. Because he's obviously like his Doctor now, past getting past the episode of the episode Dalek. Before that, he was kind of defeated. After that, he's kind of lightening up, I guess. His Doctor's, because his Doctor was dejected from the Time War at the first sort of few episodes of this run, and by now he's having fun. Off to his death he goes. So this Doctor now, at the end of this season, is quite different to how he was at the start.
Unfortunately, he's only having fun on screen, weren't he? So
Yeah. But that's a big problem, isn't it?
One last time!
He is apparently coming back to doing Big Finish, though.
There's an army about to invade this station. I need every
Yeah.
last citizen to mount a defense.
Don't listen to him! There aren't any Daleks! They disappeared thousands of years ago!
You've got to have somebody come in to be the toss spot.
As for the rest of you, the Daleks will enter the station at floor 494, and as far as I can tell, they'll head up, not down. That's not a
Yeah.
promise. Here's a few words of advice. Keep
I mean, you got John Barrowman there as action man,
if you hear us die,
and then you've got Patson Joseph there as a complete absolute toss spot, and everybody else there is just cannon fodder. I do like how I don't think I brought this up before. I do like how sci-fi they've gone with most of the designs. In like they've stuck with stereotypical sci-fi. Like you can't have a door that just opens. You've got to have a scissor door. You know, you can't. It doesn't even do that. They do this. Yeah.
Another thing that starts to do. Take us away. Leave. Let history take its course. We go to Marbella in 1989. No, that's... Great recruiting.
And I like this little scene here as well. This scene between the Doctor and Rose is kind of where the Doctor kind of realizes he has to send her away. Because she won't. She will follow him into hell. And he's just twigged. He's just
Yeah.
like, ah.
Ross, Tyler, you're a genius! We can do it. I use the TARDIS to cross my own timeline. Yes!
See, she will, wherever he goes, she will go.
Keep position. I'm very clever at the moment. I'm brilliant. I like to save the world. Me too. Now, just hold on. Yes, hold on.
So it's a lovely moment. He's so dejected. He's just lost his girl and his ride in one stroke. Like, there is no way out now. This is what's so good about this writing. For the Doctor's point of view right now, there is no way out.
Rose, now listen. This is important.
Yeah.
This message is activated, and it can only mean one thing. We must be in danger, and I need faithful. I'm dead, or about to die any second, with no chance of escape. And that's okay. Hope it's a good death. But I promise to look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home.
And I do like this hologram here. But he's giving this
Yeah.
speech and it's just straightforward.
The TARDIS
And then when he says that, he does the whole have a good life bit, he just turns and looks at her.
never get their hands on this machine.
It's like he knew she was going to be standing there.
Let the TARDIS die. Just let this old boat together. No one can open it, no one will even notice. Let it become a strange little thing standing on a street corner. And over the years, the world will move on, and the boats will be better. And if you want to remember me, then you can do one thing. That's all. One thing. Have a good life.
Yeah, I mean, just that, wouldn't that freak you the hell out?
Have a fantastic life.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be nice, but that would just be like, ah! I love this photography as well because it makes the set, they're using all the set, so they're making it look like, you know, she's by herself now. And all these shots just indicate she's by herself.
I knew it. I was all the way down Clifton Parade.
So they're just shooting her with as much wide open space as they can.
Rose, I've called up the internal laser codes. There should be a different number on every screen. Can you read them out for me?
She's not here.
Well, it's time to take a leak. When she gets back, tell her to read me the code.
She's not coming back.
What do you mean? Where's she?
First I think they've ever mentioned somebody needing to ever need the toilet.
Yeah.
The Delta Wave.
It's never gonna be ready.
This is another part of the Doctor's plan that I like as well. It's a desperate plan, which means that he has to destroy everything or nothing at all. It's an all-in situation, and he's come out of the Time War, so it's very much what is a wounded soldier going to do when given an option like this.
Yeah. It's also a very Spock manoeuvre, isn't it?
Oh yeah. He's using a lot of logic here to make the situation, but what will be the final conclusion?
The human race has survived in some shape or form.
Yeah.
You're the only Daleks in existence. The whole universe is in danger if I let you live. See, Jack? That's the decision I've got to make for every living thing. Die as a human or live as a Dalek. What would you do?
Send her home. She's safe. Keep working. Never doubted him. Never will.
And that's really kind of what the Doctor needed there was Jack.
Yeah.
He
Well,
kind he kind of needed that pep to be like, you know, no, you did the right thing, and you keep doing the right thing.
Come on, there's no secrets now, your worship.
And that's really because he was by talking with the Dalek was making him dejected. He was showing him his sort of his worst side, and then Jack steps in and goes, "No, I trust you. You were doing the right thing."
Doing little type of coleslaw now.
It's nice to have that flip, because it's nice to have the Doctor be like not sure of himself whether or not he's doing the right thing,
Then deliver.
and to have that reassurance from Jack is
Oh, is that something to eat? 200,000
Yeah.
years in the future. He's dying and there's nothing I can do. Well, like you said, 200,000 years is way off. But it's not. It's now. That fight is happening right now.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing about how the time stream works. How the time stream works in parallels.
I hated that man, but right now I
Yeah.
love him. Do you know why? He did the right thing.
Because it's part of her time stream and it's part of his time stream. She can't go back to before
What do?
he at an earlier point on the space station now.
Eat shits and go to bed. Is that it?
It's what the rest of us do.
What I can't.
Why? Is it better than
No,
us?
I didn't mean that.
So her time stream and his time stream are now moving parallel to each other. Even though it's 200,000 years in the future, they're moving together in tandem.
Yeah.
I don't mean all the travelling. Seeing aliens and stuff.
I suppose once you've travelled in time, it becomes all that more realistic, linked together for you.
Yeah.
You know he showed you too. You don't just give up. You don't just let things happen.
Right, Linda, you are my eyes and ears. When the Daleks get in, you can follow them.
I'm not really sure where she's running to.
They'll detect you, but the door is made of hydro combination. Should keep them out.
Yeah, she's just like giving them a lecture about running away, and she's pegged it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of an odd directional choice to give somebody. You make a stand, you stay, you don't give in. Off. Beautiful shot. So many Daleks.
Don't spend the rest of your life thinking about a doctor. You've got to start living your own life. You know, proper life, like
That CG still stands up.
It's pretty good.
Right, it stands up for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of anti-aliasing going on, which is understandable because it was only rendered at that resolution. But yeah, it could probably just use a re-render. I wouldn't change any of the structure of it though. Bad wolf here, bad wolf there, bad wolf everywhere.
stand your ground, everyone.
It means somebody's really into graffiti.
Good luck.
They pulled in the station. Again, no, this is a great shot as well of all these Daleks boarding the station. Because if I remember rightly, they only had like 6 Daleks. So it was just literally all split screen and re-photograph.
And it also still stands up.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, they do simple shots, and you know, once you photograph something, that's as bad as it's ever going to look. Yeah, it's just kind of the final nail in the coffin of Mickey and Rose's relationship.
Okay, activate internal lasers. Slice them up.
Yeah, 3 Daleks, yeah. Yeah.
There's only 3.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all done through repeat photography. And obviously any additional CG. Yeah. Jack being a bit of a bastard there because he knew that they were all dead and they were all just stalling for time.
Jack, how we doing? 495 should be good. I like 495.
Wind out, give it a kick.
going down.
Oh dear, what a show. Well, at least it proved to old Smuggy that there are actual things as Daleks.
Yeah, I mean, he's that sort of he's that sort of character. It's he's like the judge from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah,
You know, he's kind of that. You've got to shove it in his face. You know, when they're the Scolari brothers and they burst onto the slime. So why don't you just tell me you don't believe in ghosts? Yeah, you're all dead. Everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead, Dave. I like something I really do like about this episode. It shows the Daleks as being just absolute sinister.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
they look sinister, the way they move slowly around the corners, they glide sinister, they can fly up, they'll kill wantonly without no second thoughts.
yeah, and with no rhyme or reason either. It's just like you're not a Dalek, you're dead.
Don't say that. Remember when that died? It was some of the thing. The girl from there. She held his back. You saw her from a distance, Mum. You saw her. Think about it. That was me. You saw me. Stop it. That's how good the dog. Stop it. Just stop it.
How many more bridges has she got to burn now?
Well, no, what I like with what they've done with the structure, and again, Bob Rusty Davis has done here. Sorry, at this moment in time, the Darks have just destroyed the Earth, and they've just literally annihilated everything. What I think I really like is with the fact that Rose is with everybody she's been with, her mother, Mickey, all the people that she's on the estate and everything. She's isolated. She's by herself, and the Doctor's by himself because he's literally by himself. These two people have isolated themselves, and it goes to show how Rose isn't at home anymore, being at home.
Yeah.
It's just good right then. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Like literally, she said, there's nothing left from you now. There's nothing.
Just give up now. No way. I just need something stronger than my car. Something bigger. Something like that.
Now, as I understand it, this shot was done by having Camille Coduri actually sitting on the lap of the truck driver.
You've only got this until 6 o'clock to get on with it. Where did you get that from? Rodrigo.
He's just wearing, the truck driver's just wearing all black and she was just sat in his lap.
Full of marathons. That's exactly what you
What a day.
get on with it.
No jokes about Daleks these days, unlike my playground hell. Well, people taking the mick out of you for playing Daleks. Man, yeah, no, these guys is. Look, they did a good job in Remembrance of the Daleks, but they were just kind of shooting each other. There are a couple of people that died, but there's a lot of people that died from Daleks in this. I mean, Dalek was a good setup by killing the amount of people that died. But this is doing is just reinforcing just how one single-minded these things are. Yeah, he's not gonna do it. Yeah.
They found me.
Oh dear.
Be all right, Linda. That side of the station's reinforced
It's
against
yeah.
So, you know what they say about earthworkmanship?
Here's a question. What? We're at the end of this episode. We know what's coming, but at the end of the episode, Rose decides to bring people back from the dead. I wonder if Jack was just the only one that was brought back. Because we don't ever really see what happens after. I like the fact that the
Poor old
light,
Linda with a wife.
the lights flash. They're in space, but there's no sound.
Yeah.
Now, when I first saw this particular part, it did kind of bug me. You've got the chain going from the truck to the console.
Yeah.
But it's the
going
same
downwards,
size.
not
But it's the
upwards.
same size chain that was on the Mini. The chain broke.
Did it break or did the Mini break? It never really
I
showed you it broken.
I always thought it
And
was
what
the chain
always
that
got
broke.
me was that chain was facing downwards and the thing lifts up.
Yeah. I mean, technically at this moment in time, I suppose, Rose is now Idris. I guess. I mean,
Yeah, sort of.
see, I like the fact that the Captain Jack is now running out of weaponry and is just. But I think I would have gone a little bit further, where he'd have run out of guns, picked out used the crowbar, run out of a crowbar, and just started punching him. I think I would have had him go right the way down to every work his way down, like start off with a machine gun, then the pistol, then the crowbar, then just punching a Dalek. Maybe Rose Bad Wolf also fixed the catastrophic Dalek bombing of the Earth. Yeah, we really don't know what happened after. we don't know what Bad Wolf did. This entire situation might have been totally undone by what Rose did.
Coward. Any day. What about me?
Yeah.
Am I becoming one of your angels?
I mean, that's the thing with the Doctor. The Doctor is the survivor.
Maybe it's time.
I think they've done a really good job of demonstrating her power, really. By not having a
Oh,
not even bother.
definitely. Turning things.
Well, just for the fact that she doesn't even walk towards the Doctor, she just sort of fades towards him. She catches the ray, she just backs it all off.
Gonna be safe. My doctor. I'll take my clothes on. You are tired. I can see
I love the fact that the effects in her eyes fade down when she's talking to the Doctor. That there's this back and forth whereby when she demonstrates her power,
everything dies.
it's just showing like, you know, oh, here's this person that's become a god but still has a touch of humanity. I wish they had killed the backlighting for her though. I understand why it's there. I would have just preferred having. I remember articles in the papers theorising the identity of Bad Wolf. Ah man, it's such a long time ago.
I've been like...
See what? No, at this particular moment, what has she done? She's brought back. She's brought back Jack, but what else? And she can operate throughout space and time, so she could work in an instant.
I can see everything. All that is. All that was. All that ever could be.
That's worse. All the time. Doesn't it drive you mad?
I do remember the joke at the time when this happened was that why is it that Billy Piper can't kiss anyone that's not 25 years older than that? Yes, the only that strong backlight thing behind them there is just killing that effect. There's really not much point in having those VFX on the. I would have framed that if just close the TARDIS doors. And how evil does Christopher Eccleston look with that vortex in him? He just does, doesn't he? You see that gold glare in his eyes. He just looks evil. I mean, it threw up a lot of things as to what happens to Jack now. At this point in time.
Do you remember?
There was a singing.
That's right. They sang a song and the Daleks ran away.
I was at home. Oh, TARDIS. There was this light. Remember anything more?
Rose time. I'm going to take you to so many places. Barcelona, not the city of Barcelona, the planet Barcelona. You love it.
I like how the fact that he already knows how bad things are. Like he already knows, you know.
Then why can't
Maybe I would.
And again, this is what I like with the show. If you look at how he was in the very first episode to how he is now, he was so serious to begin with, but now he's nothing. I know he's at the end of his life. It's frivolous.
Yeah, well, basically Rose fixed him.
Yeah, that's exactly what this season has done.
tell me what's going on?
To go from the Time War to this relic of the Time War to this person now.
Maybe someone else might.
He's taking Rose Tyler to put him right.
Yeah, doing it now. Someone training talk about cheating death. Except he's under charge. I'm not conceding. Not like this. This back to the face.
How good is Eccleston?
Brilliant.
Rose. Before I go, I just want to tell you more about it. Absolutely fantastic. Do you know what? So was I.
The only thing I would have changed is that instant burst. It just went. You were fantastic, and so was I. And he's just instantly bang, like there was no build up to it actually just exploding.
Barcelona.
And there we go. David Tennant.
Yeah. Barcelona.
Yeah. That's the end of that.
Turned into Cliff Richard for a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the end of Christopher Eccleston's run as the Doctor. He is coming back in Big Finish.
Yeah, you read the message I sent you the other day, yeah?
Yeah, and yeah, I've seen the other articles as well on a Doctor Who board as well.
Well, you could have humoured me and said, yeah, it was brilliant, thanks.
No, it was. I did get it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting to see how he would have dealt with another series. Because again, he was gone from wounded soldier to healed.
Yeah.
That was maybe they would have played it out a little longer, to stretch it out a bit. I'm not sure what. Look, I said before, Christopher Eccleston's run as the Doctor was giving you everything from Doctor Who all in one season. You had absolutely everything. There's not one element of Doctor Who I don't think is untouched in the show. It's done in some form.
Yeah.
You had the present day invasion story. You had the intergalactic stories. You've had time travel stories. You've had all these, every single one. Zombie stories. The whole kit and caboodle. Dalek stories in there. It is such a shame, but how at least we've got a slice there of just how good it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've talked about this before. Even the bad episodes of this series there's still something redeeming about them. There's nothing like even the ones I don't watch that much of, like I said, Boomtown, are ones that I don't watch that often. Father's Day is not one I watch that, but even then, there is something endearing about those stories, about those episodes as well. So, I mean, it's pointless in asking which is your favourite one. I think pretty much everybody will go, "Ah, Dalek is clearly the standout one of this season."
Yeah, it was.
I mean, great performances all round. Directed well, shot well, lit well, costumes look good. The sets were, what they were because, again, they were dealing with the fact that they weren't given that much money and they were as economical as they could be because obviously they're spending money on bringing more actors in and having to put this show together from nothing. So and interesting choice that they brought in then David Tennant, a guy who was principally known for Casanova. What about let's talk about Christopher Eccleston's departure from the show. This did not go down well for anyone.
No, it didn't, did it?
I we I don't I don't want to put it sort of like a sort of a whose fault was it, but you've got your lead actor of the show, you've got your head showrunner, things aren't meshing well. The BBC are obviously not happy because of what's going on. We're talking about the execs now as well. The fact that Christopher Eccleston felt that he didn't have a choice but to leave. I mean, he was in a rough spot anyway. Yeah, he was having problems as it was anyway. And then you've got this whole situation whereby he's come out and said, the BBC tried to blackball him. They tried to stop him from being able to work. They basically besmirched him to every single person. He was just on the list then. Nobody came out of this looking good. I don't because this is not like the first. This is not unprecedented. This happened to Colin Baker.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's just re-repeating.
Yeah, it's not unprecedented for this to happen. The big difference here is that even that has happened to Colin Baker. 2 years after Colin Baker was gone, the BBC started trying to put things right with Colin Baker. 10 years after Eccleston left, the BBC was still like, no. So, and I can't believe that it's a problem with Christopher Eccleston, because I've seen Christopher Eccleston. I've seen interviews with him. I've seen him working in other shows. I've been told that he can be a bit salty. From his time, particularly with his time working on Marvel. But again, when he was working on Marvel, they didn't tell him how long he was going to be spending in makeup, which was an issue because when he was he played the Dark Elf in Thor: Dark World, and nobody told him he was going to be 6 hours in makeup. So, I mean, I know he was having issues, but the departure. Do you think the departure hurt the show initially?
No, I don't know, because the show kind of went on strength to strength, wasn't it? I mean, everyone kind of went, "Oh, David Tennant." I was, because I didn't know it was coming, because by that time I'd stopped buying papers and I didn't go on a lot of I didn't go on the boards then. All I'd been doing was because stuff wasn't out on DVD at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been going on to torrent sites and I'd been getting the old stuff, just downloading really crap quality, like MPEGs and AVIs of all the old episodes that I could find. Because my boys, No, in fact, no, that was after the show. I'm trying to think. Because yeah, actually, that was right. Sorry, I'm talking bollocks now. My boys wanted to know how it was he was the Ninth Doctor. So I went and tried to find every single regeneration sort of end story of one Doctor and first story of the next Doctor, so I could play it all along. Obviously for partner into Trout, and I had to use like crappy telesyncs because the episodes just
Yeah.
weren't there.
Yeah.
But I managed to do that and show my boys when they were little, why he was the Ninth Doctor and stuff like that. So that's all I've done. I haven't gone on to like was it Gallifrey one? It used to be the website, the
Yes.
forum.
Yeah.
I hadn't been on to
Can't
any
remember
of that, so I didn't know about any of the leaks, anything. The only thing I knew leak wise was I managed to download the episode of Rose that had the original theme tune on it. That was leaked from somewhere before it was shown on telly.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'd seen nothing. So at the end of that episode, when he regenerated, I knew nothing of it. I was completely shocked by that. The fact that he's only got one series. Then after I started looking into it, you started because he was Chris Eccleston was very tight-lipped about it. He wouldn't talk about it, and so he was getting bad-mouthed by the powers that be.
Well, this is my what I was going to say, because the thing was he was told that he wasn't allowed to say anything, and yet he was also being told to promote the show. But the people that he was being told to promote the show to knew he was leaving the show. So it didn't do him any favours, and then the BBC were literally stopping him, preventing him from getting work. For a long time, and I mean a long time, a lot of this was put on the shoulders of Christopher Eccleston. Not that, I mean, like, it appeared to be that he had done a one-show thing to forward his career and then leave. That's what the appearance was of this person just coming to do this one show, make himself really famous, and then get the hell out and go do something else. Like as if he didn't like the show or enjoy the show or whatever. And that's not the case. So again, as you said, the show went from strength to strength. So it didn't damage the show, but what it did do, clearly what the BBC did was desperately to protect the show, was to throw Christopher Eccleston under the bus.
Yeah, it's true.
And he became the fall guy, and because he had signed an NDA, he couldn't even talk about it. So it's not surprising, given the crap that he was already going through, that his career has gone the way it's gone. I mean, I'm so glad the guy is now doing conventions and doing all these sorts of things, because now fans are really knowing what went on. What's your opinion of what went on? I mean, for me personally, if I'm gonna just let you know what I think, at this point in time, the BBC should issue an apology. As a corporation, I think they should issue an apology to Christopher Eccleston, because if you've got an employee that is being treated that way, then, and let's be honest here, it did damage his career for a long time. So my take on it is that, as far as I'm concerned, the BBC owe him an apology, and I don't blame him for not coming back to Doctor Who at all until he gets one. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Right, I can only agree with that. They absolutely owed him an apology. I don't know what sort of contract he signed when he signed up with Doctor. I'm pretty sure he only signed a one-series contract anyway, because they didn't know whether it was going to get renewed again, did they?
I mean, there was
at the end of that series.
Yeah, there was no right. So here's how things work at the BBC. If you get contracted to the BBC, you are contracted under an agreement of you don't have an opinion. So you aren't allowed to say anything that the BBC don't tell you what to say. That's the way it is. Whether you're an actor, whether you're a TV presenter, whether you're a news presenter, your opinion is invalidated, because the reason why is that the BBC can't be seen to align themselves, because they are the license fee publicly funded corporation. If you were to say be an actor and you were like, oh yeah, I've been seen promoting, say, this happened recently actually with one of the BBC breakfast presenters. She was doing a thing with Aston Martin, and the reason why they can't do that, she had a job offer. They paid her like 20,000 to promote Aston Martin or something, and the BBC were like, no, you can't do that. And the reason why they can't is because if something was to happen with Aston Martin, she has to be impartial, and you can't be impartial if they are paying you money. So, and it's the same sort of thing with actors, with all this. So when you get employed by the BBC, you don't really have a say in really anything. They give you your opinion. So, like with Christopher Eccleston, he's obviously, when he's promoting this show, he's biased towards the show because he's being told you're being paid to promote this show. So he can't really say anything, and because he's signed an NDA, he can't say, "Oh, I've left the show because of these reasons," because he's not allowed to say it. And then the BBC are going to turn around and say, "If you do say it, we will take you to court and we will sue you, and have breached your contract." So he's not going to be able to do it. And that's pretty much how it's run. That's pretty, even to this day, that's how it's run. It's not the same as if you were working independently. If you're working for an independent organisation on an independent contract, that would be totally different. You would have input on anything that you want, and you've got freedom of choice. Under the BBC's contract, you don't have that freedom. So yeah, there's not really more I can really say about that. Really, that's just the way it is. If you say
but that doesn't give them the right to badmouth him, effectively ruin his career, blackball him, besmirch his name, and all the other stuff. I mean, I worked for Sainsbury's for 10 years. When I left, I wasn't banned from shopping in Sainsbury's. You know what I mean? It's I get that he's not allowed to say anything, but then coming down on him like they did after he'd left, and he would have kept his mouth shut anyway, I think, for a good number of years. I don't think that would have played. He strikes me as that kind of man, like, that's my private business. I've done that, and I'm moving on.
Yeah, but what you've got to remember here is that the BBC knew that people were going to ask him, why are you leaving? Because he was only done 1 year, and they're not going to have themselves being painted into the because the show comes first. That's the thing. Because the show comes first, they are not going to paint themselves as the villains. So it's a case of, right, if you're going to leave, you can't tell them that we're the reason. And so he had to kind of go, oh well, I'm moving on to do other things. I'm not doing this. It was a real tangled up mess of a situation. I think the aside from what happened with him, I mean, I'm glad now that he's in a position whereby he's willing to come back to Doctor Who. I think he always was. I don't think he ever wanted to leave. But how can you stay when you're in a scenario whereby every day is just unpleasant?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways that it could have been handled. Hindsight being 20/20, and now, they could have literally given him permission to say something totally innocuous, like, well, I enjoyed my time on the show and I thank them for the opportunity, but I didn't want to become typecast and I wanted to go on to do something else. That's not besmirching the show. Perhaps that's him agreeing to put himself down a bit, but that would have been much tidier
Yeah.
and that would have been it. Job done. I can't get my head around why they couldn't do that. That would,
And
would have been within all the stuff they signed as well.
and the fact that they banned him from working in the BBC.
Well, yeah, just bloody stupid.
And I mean, again, we were talking about because things didn't really pan out that well for Russell T Davies after that either. I mean, he had a good bit with Torchwood and that sort of arc going off, but obviously in his personal life things went wrong, and so it didn't really pan out from him. There, I don't think he's really recovered from that either. So, really and truly, the whole scenario really didn't play out well for anyone.
Well, no, and 10 or 11 episodes later, we got Love and Monsters. I mean, nothing panned out, did it?
But onwards and upwards, we've managed to. Let's end this on a bit of a high note. We got to see the new Doctor, David Tennant, who stayed with the show for 5 years.
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a bit of a break, but then we had the specials, which were peppered throughout. So, and the first 3 years were just heading in the right direction.
For most of it.
It was heading in the right direction. It was heading up.
Once it started to probably around the time of Tooth and Claw, when him and Rose were being so smug together, I just wanted her to bog off. I didn't like that smugness. The two characters, not the actors, just the characters. The way they were on, the actors were fantastic. I really liked Dave Tennant. I thought he was a revelation in the part. But once they started making him smug, and I don't know, it kind of grated on me a bit.
But I think like they take you on through that way, and I think that the reason why those characters go that way is because when they're writing it, they're writing it up for a takedown.
Yeah.
And you have to have these people have this sort of shorthand between the two of them, whereby things keep going better and better and better, and they're so comfortable with dealing with these situations that there's not these people are untouchable, and then bang, and it all comes crashing down. And I think that you have to write those sorts of situations in. But again, we're not just talking about Tooth and Claw here, but we're talking about like the entire leading up to Army of Ghosts, where Rose gets trapped on the other side of the other universe. Brilliant writing, brilliant characters, brilliant setups. Lots of memorable stories in there. Even Love and Monsters is a memorable story.
For the right reasons, though. Let's be honest.
I think. Do you know what? There were several things that went wrong with that episode, right? But one of the things that actually went right with that episode was the fact that they was doing it from an outsider's point of view. That's the only.
I'll give them that.
That's. It's almost the same as what happened with Blink. It's almost exactly the same sort of thing, whereby these people that don't know the Doctor are involved in the story, and you see it from their perspective instead of from the Doctor's perspective. So it's almost as if it's it could have been so much better, but we ended up with a kid's design for a Blue Peter winning design for a monster played by Peter Kay. And
on paper, brilliant.
I mean, but it's where does I mean?
I'll tell you what. To save us from ever having to watch that episode and talk about it. That episode started losing me right at the beginning when they were doing the Scooby-Doo thing from running side to side, and I was like, oh no, surely not.
Yeah. But again, the premise of the episode was a good idea, to do it from an outsider's perspective, to do it from a what an eyewitness observed kind of point of view, story. So that was a good idea, executed brilliantly in Blink.
Well, to be honest, the one redeeming feature from Love and Monsters was the absolutely brilliant, thinly veiled, oral sex joke they managed to squeeze in at the end. That was the high point of the episode. I think I actually laughed out loud at that, and my boys. I mean, when was that on? 2007, so they would have been sort of like 10 and 7 themselves. They were like, "Oh, what's he laughing at?" I was like crying on the sofa when I watched that. So
Yeah.
that was a good point of it.
Yeah. I mean, but we didn't do a good run of Doctor Who now. There's a good spell. I would say, from my particular perspective here, there are episodes that are better than others. You into the Tennant run now with, again, Love and Monsters. Idiot Lantern isn't a good episode from it's not the Wire is not a brilliant villain.
We've got Fear Her as well, didn't we? Come in that series.
Yeah, Fear Her as well. So there's shaky episodes. It's not perfect, but the run between now and Capaldi is probably Doctor Who at its peak. It's probably it doesn't really get better than this. I mean, I run down the Capaldi era, Series 8 and 9 more than anything else. Series 8 still has Listen, which is fan-bloody-tastic. So we are really sort of, regardless of personal opinion, we are into the show reaching its international, acclaim status.
Yeah, of the modern era. I still don't think any of the modern era stories-wise, stories-wise, I don't think any of the modern era can touch anywhere from between probably the middle of Patrick Troughton right up until at least towards the end of Tom Baker.
Well,
up to where Adric joined.
This is what I was watching today.
What is it? Because I can't read it from here because you're on a tiny screen.
The War Games.
War Games.
So I
Yes,
I
I
was
can see it now.
Yes. No, I was watching that earlier because it was just like, I'm gonna chuck on some Patrick Troughton just to have a good look. Because we were dealing with a regeneration episode of saying goodbye, and I thought, well, you know what, this is one of him saying goodbye and how this is handled, and it's kind of handled in a very sort of similar sort of way, in that he knows it's coming and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
He tries to stall, but he says goodbye, even though he knows it's he says goodbye in War Games. He says goodbye to Jamie and Zoe, but it's not it's not like, oh, this is goodbye forever. This is like, we might see each other again, but just not like, this. And in this, it's also it's a very similar goodbye. Obviously, like, the Troughton.
Didn't Jamie and Zoe have their minds wiped though? A bit like what happened to Donna
No.
Noble.
So this is the problem. They kind of did, but not quite. They what the Time Lord said was that they're gonna wipe their minds of anything except the first memories of the Doctor. So they still remember, Zoe remembers all the stuff from the Doctor from Wheel in Space, but doesn't really remember anything after that. Jamie remembers everything from the Highlanders, but doesn't really remember anything after that either. So they do know the Doctor, they do remember the Doctor, but they don't have a full memory of the Doctor. So, which is kind of very similar to what the Doctor did to bloody Donna, and what happened to Clara, and so there's a lot of dicking about with memories with Time Lords.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the relevance of wiping Jamie's memory was for that point. I don't know why that would be, unless of course it was just because they didn't want ordinary people, because Time Lords are a bit hoity-toity. So they maybe didn't want ordinary people with such knowledge of space and time. But I think again it was about giving Pertwee really a clean slate. So
Well, yeah, he fell out of the TARDIS in Technicolor, didn't he? So
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how much of a clean slate he had. He literally come to us in in Technicolor. So yeah, you had a bit of an easier landing than Whittaker though. He just fell into some lavender.
well, yeah, he had a decent episode to fall into for a start.
Oh dear.
I said that out loud, didn't I?
Yeah. Right, I think we've covered Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways, and I think we've covered the circumstances surrounding the episode from the start to the finish. It's one of my favourite two-parters. It's I think it's handled extremely well. I'm gonna give it out of 10. I'm gonna give it an 8.2 out of 10. The only things I can really mark it down for are the sets could have been a little bit more expansive. I don't like ragging on the designs of the android and the bloody Trini and Susanna droids. They were reused sets, and they were sort of it was the first episode was slightly cheaper than the second episode, but it was a great story, great actors, great performances, beautiful reveal for the Daleks. One reveal after the other, just slightly more, it just escalated. It went from seeing the eye through the eye to seeing the plunger, to seeing the reflection, to seeing the spaceships, to seeing the armies. It was just a brilliant reveal, and a good way to say goodbye. So,
yeah, I mean, I'd give it 8.5. I would give it 9, but for the television programmes chosen. But I'm only going to drop it to 8.5 because that's the first time I've watched that in a long while, and I'd forgotten actually how good the build-up was of that episode. I mean, I remembered the reveal and the Dalek. I forgot about the Matrix woman with all her pipes in her and that. Yeah, I like the way they reused the sets, so it was all continually around Satellite 5, all the way back to the end of the world. Actors-wise, I don't think there was a bad actor in that two-part at all. Not a single actor out of place. No one hammy. No one just generally crap. They were just all on point. If I was marking it on casting, I'd give it a 10. But as it stands, as a two-part episode, I'd give it 8.5, and most of that 8.5 comes from the reveal of the Daleks and a lot of the set pieces in part 2. Brilliant episode.
And again, just what I like with the episode as well is the fact that I like I think that the Bad Wolves thing could have been a little bit better put in, which is why I marked it down a little bit. But I don't have to understand it. Rose has to understand it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's not for us. It's not for the audience to understand. It's for Rose to understand.
That's it. All we've got to do is go, oh, it was her. That's all we need.
Yeah. So
he's giving it a 9.5. He really likes it.
Oh yeah. No, I can understand that. If the sets had been, if they spent a little bit more money on the sets, I like the fact that they reused the sets so that it all ties in, that it makes it cohesive. So I like all that. Look, I would have done exactly the same, and what it's done is it's forced them to use better lighting, be a bit more theatrical, throw, things that you would not normally throw into a sci-fi show. They have thrown in because they had to tell the story one way or the other, and it worked brilliantly, and it made the show. It certainly gives season 1 its look. you know, if you look at the Matt Smith season, the Matt Smith season is a very different looking show to Christopher Eccleston's. Totally different.
Yeah.
So it definitely made it unique, and that's I think one thing that makes the show stand out, because what I really don't like with most modern Doctor Who now is it's starting to look like every other show. Whereas with the Eccleston show, you know exactly what you're watching. You know, it's like when you see people do these sort of fan designs of TARDIS
you've got to feel
interiors.
sorry for David Tennant as well. Yeah, talking of TARDIS interiors, you've got to feel sorry for David Tennant. He never had his own TARDIS.
Yeah,
He got
but
Christopher Eccleston's one, and then the TARDIS remained the same right up until Matt Smith blew it up when he changed over. So
Yeah.
David Tennant never had his own TARDIS.
but I find it weird that, like, if you're talking about like TARDIS interiors here, when they do the TARDIS redesigns for the sets, how less unique they're making it look, which is why I think everybody loves the Ruth Doctor TARDIS, because like you instantly look at those roundels on the wall and go, it's the TARDIS. It's instantaneous. So I think that by eliminating those things from the sets and things like that, it's making the show look more generic. And I don't think that's with Eccleston's Doctor Who, regardless of what you think of the designs for the Brachycornicophallopatorians or the Moxel Balhoun or Zoe Wanamaker's what's her name? I can't remember her name. Oh God, the trampoline. But whatever you think of those character designs, or the trees, or the Forest of Cheam, Cassandra, yeah. Whatever you think of those, they are extremely they push in the boundaries, and they operating in an area which is unique to Doctor Who. Whereas I don't find that from, like, when you first saw Tim Shaw. He looks cool, he looks like a sort of a Power Ranger, but he's not really unique. And I just, it's not, I picked on that really, but I mean, it was the same for the Capaldi era really, it just sort of tapered out, it didn't really look like Doctor Who.
I think Peter Capaldi had one of the best TARDISes of all time.
Oh, yeah, I'm not just picking on the TARDIS interior here, I'm not, don't go that way, no. But I mean, like, in the style, in style of show, this season, this 13 episode block is unique to this Doctor.
Yeah.
You know, it's identified. You only got to look at the screen for a half a second to be able to go, that's Doctor Who.
I'll tell you one thing you need to look at. They did a couple of films. Now, Peter Cushing, mate, you're going to love his TARDIS if you ever get round to seeing them.
I will check them out. I'm pretty sure I love his TARDIS. Anyway, I think we've covered everything. I think that's Part of the Ways and Bad Wolf covered. Not sure what's next, because we've done this kind of on the fly. It was kind of like I managed to cobble some stuff together, and we can do a stream. So,
well, yeah, I sent you the message about Eccleston the other day, and a couple of days later I get a thing back, I can set up a computer for a stream later. Okay.
Well, you
And then I remember
you can tell I've still got my kitchen and my lounge. My fridge is right there. So is half my kitchen behind there.
But
so
for the viewers,
no, the
for
classic
the viewers
sofa.
though, you are going to change the
Yes. So, but yeah, so things are going to be moving along. I don't know what's next. Next week, maybe we'll do something on Saturday next week. We'll see how it goes. If we do that, probably you want to do a Tom Baker episode, I believe. Did you hear me? Is things frozen?
Yeah, we was going to look at series 14. I think we was talking about. Let me just call it up, and we'll have a. Yeah, I can hear you. Hello.
Oh, yeah, no, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, hello.
So yeah, okay. If that's the case, I'll have a look at season 14, and maybe do some of that next
Oh,
week.
good. At the
Anyway.
time, we're out a bit of sync with timing.
Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna leave that there, and we shall see you next week.
Yeah, I'm just seeing what's on the series 14. Yeah, there's some good episodes in series 14.
Right, I'm gonna end the broadcast there. Anyway, take care. See you next week.